Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about the Booker Prize Longlist 2020. Firstly, some things to address. I have had somewhat mixed feelings about the Booker Prize this year. I am feeling slightly less enamoured and excited about the prize this year than in the past, and here's why. Firstly, the joint win last year was not something I really discussed on my channel. There were enough other people talking about it, making excellent points. People who had actually read both of the books that won, I might add. But suffice to say, the whole joint winner thing kind of had me fuming. I will never understand. Secondly, there has been some recent controversy surrounding homophobic comments made by the vice president of the prize. She has now been withdrawn from that position and the whole thing has been somewhat resolved, but let's be honest, it took us a little while to get there. It isn't my place to accept the apology given by the Booker Prize surrounding that whole thing, but I was pleased to see them finally take that action. There are also some wide issues with the prize that people have been expressing for eons, which I have been thinking a little bit about recently. Issues surrounding the very nature of the prize and what it is seeking to find when looking for the finest fiction. Issues surrounding the elitism of the prize and the publishers that it always tends to focus on, and the diversity of the lists. And I think these debates surrounding the prize are super valid, often very enlightening, and I do think it is true that there are issues here. That all being said, I am not going to go into the minutiae of all of that now, and I am still a fan of this prize for the books. As I've said many times in the past, I tend to get along very well with Booker Prize listed books. My tastes seem to match up very well with the prize, and discovering new books through the prize every year is without a doubt one of my favourite times in the literary calendar year. So naturally I was intrigued to see what this year's long list looked like. So today I thought I would just sit down and chat to you about the long list and share with you all of my thoughts. On the whole, I would say I am falling somewhere in the middle regarding how I feel about this list. I had already read a couple of the books, a few of them were already on my radar and ones that I was interested in, and a few of them I had never heard of before. Definitely a few surprises on here, and also some surprises regarding books that didn't make it onto this list. Where is Hamnet? That book should have made it onto this list. It is a masterpiece, and that not being reflected in this list is such a crime. There were also a few other books that I would have liked to have seen on this list, including Claire Lombardo's The Most Fun We Ever Had, Donal Ryan's Strange Flowers, Sarah Moss's new book Summer Water, but that is the nature of the beast, I guess. So the plan is that I'm going to talk through all of the books on this long list, starting with the ones that I have already read, and then I'll work my way through the rest, starting with the ones that I am least excited about, up to the ones that I'm most excited about. As always, please do let me know how you feel about these books as we go along down in the comments. How are you feeling about the list generally, and the Booker Prize generally as well? I really would love to hear all of your thoughts. So after that massive preamble, let's get into it. So the first book on the long list is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, and this one is from Bloomsbury Circus. Set in modern day America, this novel follows a black young woman who is babysitting for a middle-class white family when one night at a supermarket she is accused of kidnapping the young white toddler in her care. So I read this book earlier this year, and unfortunately I didn't think it was amazing at the time, and the more time that passes, the more I think it was less amazing. So this book definitely has great elements. Kylie Reid's takes on themes such as motherhood and race and privilege are very fresh and very blunt. The writing is pretty good, the characters are quite interesting and unique, and the book started off super strong for me. I was here for it, but unfortunately it didn't manage to convince me all the way to the end. It just felt like Kylie Reid couldn't quite keep delivering bring the same standard she had opened the novel with. It seemed to get a bit weak and confused. That all being said, I do know that a lot of people are really pleased to see this one on the list, and Kylie Reid definitely does show a lot of promise as an author, so this is pretty cool for her. Next on the list is Suzy Bane by Douglas Stewart, and this one is published by Picador. I do own a proof copy of this book, but unfortunately I can't hold it up and show it for you because my lovely fiance has nabbed off with it at the moment. So of course this is the other book on the list that I have already read, and I loved this book. Set in 1980s Glasgow amidst the backdrop of Margaret Thatcher's Britain, this novel tells the story and childhood of a young boy called Suzy Bane, and it explores themes of working class families and addiction and sexuality. I'm going to refrain from talking about this one too much now. I will be talking about it in more detail in my next recent reads video, but rest assured that I loved this book. It blew me away. I love chunky literary fiction novels, especially ones that are coming of age and that are set over multiple decades, and Douglas Stewart executes this so well. I loved the characters, they were so believable. I loved the social commentary, and the writing it felt super accomplished. It was delicious all the way through. This is the kind of thing that I want to see on the Booker Prize long list. Thank you very much. Moving on to the books that I haven't read yet. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Who They Was by Gabrielle Krause, I think, and this one is published by Fourth Estate. Described as an autobiographical novel, I believe this book explores life in modern day London. It is said to be quite gritty and raw, exploring things such as poverty and gang culture and organised crime. This is one of the novels that I hadn't heard of before seeing it on this list, and it isn't the type of novel that I am typically drawn towards, although I do think this sounds pretty interesting, especially considering the fact that it is told from the author's own experiences. I will be interested to see how people take to this for sure, and then maybe I will be spurred on to pick it up. Next up is A Paragon by Colin McCann, and this one is published by Bloomsbury. Another one that I hadn't heard of before. This one tells the real life friendship and story of two men who were united by loss. One of the men is Palestinian and the other is Israeli. So this novel does sound pretty epic. It is supposed to cross centuries and continents and explore themes of history and time and politics and art. This sounds as though it could be incredible, very timely, telling very important stories, although I don't think Colin McCann himself is actually Middle Eastern. I believe he is from Ireland, which is definitely disappointing and comes with its own whole host of thoughts. So again, I will see how this one is received. It does sound like it could be something I would like, but I kind of have mixed feelings right now. Next up is This Mournable Body by Tsitsi Dangarembga, and this one is published by Faber and Faber. Set in Zimbabwe, this novel tells the story of a young woman who has just left her job. She is temporarily living in a youth hostel, and I believe it just follows her consequential journey and her struggles with things such as gender and inequality and racism and the educational system. So this sounds interesting. I really enjoy contemporary novels set in Africa. It sounds very character focused and very social commentary-y, which are all big ticks. It is also described as being tense and psychologically charged, which intrigues me. This is another one that I haven't heard tons about, but what I have heard has been quite mixed. Nothing that's got me very excited. So I'm looking forward to seeing what people think about this one the more people read the long list, and we will take it from there. Okay, getting on to the good stuff now. The next book is The New Wilderness by Diane Cook, and this one is published by One World. This novel explores a mother-daughter relationship set amongst the backdrop of a futuristic world ravaged by climate change. I believe that previously people were not allowed to leave the city until one day a handful of volunteers crossed the country to go to the wilderness state, an area inhabited solely by wildlife, in order to see whether humans and nature can live alongside one another in harmony. I enjoy dystopian fiction every now and again. not too frequently, but every now and again. I love the idea that it is exploring the climate crisis and nature. I love that it is focusing on a mother-daughter relationship. It's also getting really, really good reviews, so I don't need to know any more about this one. I think it could be really interesting. Next up is the book that every man and his dog expected to see on this list. It is destined to win, and that is The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel, published by Fourth Estate. If you don't know what this book is about by now, I have no idea where you've been. This is the third and final installment in the esteemed Thomas Cromwell trilogy set in Tudor England. So I am pleased to see this on this list. I have read Wolf Hall and it is incredible. So well researched and rich and immersive and beautifully written. So assuming that the standard of Wolf Hall is anything to go off, which everyone says it is, I do think this book deserves to be here. I do plan on reading this book at some point. I actually need to get to reading the second book in the trilogy as well. I doubt this will be happening anytime soon because I have tons to read at the moment, but I will be picking this up at some point. Next up is Real Life by Brandon Taylor, and this one is published by Daunt Books. This novel tells a story of an introverted queer black man who is from Alabama. He is studying towards a biochem degree at a Midwestern university, and I believe the novel explores themes of friendship and violence and desire and mental illness. So this is another book that I have seen around. I know that a lot of book reviewers who I greatly trust have read and loved this book, and from what I know about it, it does sound as though it would be very much up my street, being character focused and intimate. So all in all, I think this one could be very me. I am pretty certain I will like this, and I will definitely be picking it up at some point. Next up is The Shadow King by Marza Mengistu. Mengistu or Mengistu? My apologies, I am not sure. And this one is published by Canongate. This is a historical novel set during Mussolini's 1935 invasion of Ethiopia, and I believe it follows female characters casting a light on the women soldiers of the time. This is another one that I have seen around for a while now. To be honest, I think it particularly caught my eye because of this gorgeous cover. Hello. It is set during a time and place that I know basically nothing about and I would like to learn more about, and the fact that it focuses on female characters that apparently have fierce, unique, powerful voices just sounds fab. I'm excited for this one and I'm expecting good things. Next up is How Much of These Hills is Gold by C. Pam Zhang, and this one is published by Virago Little Brown. This is another historical novel, this one being set in the gold rushes in the Old West of America. It follows a Chinese-American family over a few different timelines from when siblings Lucy and Sam are young children up until they are young adults. So this one is getting a lot of praise at the moment. People are adoring it. And because of this, I have actually already started this one. I am around a third through at the moment and I'm really enjoying it. This book has a lot of strengths. It is technically very good. The writing and the descriptions of the setting in particular are gorgeous. The characters are interesting and distinct. It feels like an adventure story, but it's also exploring themes of history and race and family. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this one goes and finding out just how much I end up loving it in the end. Next up is Redhead by the Side of the Road by Anne Tyler, and this one is published by Chatto and Windus. Described as an offbeat love story, this novel tells the story of a man named Micah who lives a very structured, steady life until his girlfriend is evicted from her apartment and a teenage boy turns up on his doorstep claiming to be his son. So you may know that I am a massive Anne Tyler fan. I have read a few of her novels now and and she is just such a solid, reliable, gorgeous writer. Her characters and the ways in which she depicts and explores family relationships in particular are so good. So while this may not have the most exciting of premises, I just know that the characters and the execution in here is going to be lovely. I've been wanting to read this ever since it came out, so I am very pleased to see it make this list. I'm very much looking forward to picking this up. I just know it will be a delight whenever I do. The penultimate book on the list is Love and Other Thought Experiments by Sophie Ward. This one is published by Corsair Little Brown, telling the story of Rachel and Eliza, a couple who are hoping to soon have a baby. This is a love story that is based off of some of the best known thought experiments in the philosophy of mind. Yes, you heard me. So this is another one of the books that I'd seen around, I had heard about it, I had heard good things about it, but I had never actually known what this book was about. And thank God this prize has finally alerted me to what this book is about, because it basically sounds like my dream. Literary fiction mushed with philosophical thought experiments. For anyone who is new here and may not know, I did do a philosophy degree. So this book is very me. I am very excited about it. I'm very excited to see what thought experiments are used, whether I remember anything about them from studying the philosophy of mind. I'm excited to see how this all plays into the characters' lives and relationship. It all just sounds very intriguing, and I'm excited to see how it is done and whether it ultimately proves to be effective. I'm hoping for very good things. And last up is Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi, and this one is published by Hamish Hamilton. So this one also focuses on a mother-daughter relationship. Tara, I believe, was rather wild in her youth and didn't seem to care much for her young daughter. Now she is much older and her daughter is faced with the task of looking after her. So this is basically just a standard me book. It has my name written all over it. As we know, I love character-focused books. I love reading about mother-daughter relationships. Memory plays a big role in this novel, I believe, which I absolutely adore. I love the kind of hazy, unreliable feel that memory gives to a narrative, especially when it's exploring families. The writing in here is supposed to be very sharp and witty. It's supposed to all feel very gripping and dark. This all sounds amazing, and let's be honest, I am obsessed with this cover. Look at that colour. And also look at these end papers. Oh my god. I will be picking up this one very, very soon. So there we have this year's Booker Prize Longlist. Thank you so much for listening to me babble on about it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the list. How do we feel? Let me know which books sound most interesting to you. Let me know if you've read any of them already. It would really be great to hear what you made of them. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. It really does make my day. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm looking forward to chatting to you down below, and I will hopefully see you all soon with another video. Bye everyone.